We do want to go ahead and open up. We have some time for some question and answers. And just one second. We'll get there. I like the enthusiasm. I just wanted to make one comment. Debbie mentioned that Common Core is in Catholic schools now, and so maybe there was a perception that private schools were immune to this. And I have 2 kids in Catholic school, and I'm starting to see the books, and they very clearly on top, Common Core, whatever. It says it right on the top. And going through it, as Thaisa mentioned, the convoluted ways that they want our children to start learning these basic concepts, it got me upset too. So definitely we need to listen to what Debbie said with the 5 actions, and please get involved. So what I'll do is I will go out to you guys here to the audience and have a microphone so everyone can hear your question, and Rolando will have a microphone for the panel. There is one question that Rolando wanted to get to first before just to kind of start things off.
Yeah. There was a question about whether anyone can opt out of Common Core. I think that person might be here, but I'm not sure. You cannot opt out of Common Core. Okay? Sorry. We have to really fight this. We have to fight it. The only way that you can do it is by getting involved. I mean, the 4 of us cannot do it by ourselves. You have to get involved. You have to tell your friends, people that you know, the same things that we're telling you. That's the only way. The only way you have to get involved.
Is that individual cannot
Here.
I have a lot of friends who homeschool, and for some reason, most of them seem to think that they're exempt from these standards. But isn't it now going to be demanded that they comply with the curriculum and standards?
Yeah, when they go to college, they're going to be tested with Common Core. The SAT, all those tests are being developed, are going to be aligned to Common Core. So if you're homeschooling, your student, when he goes to college, he has to pass an entrance exam along Common Core. So no one is exempted. Catholic schools, homeschooler, everyone is involved.
Interesting though, what you need to know about the homeschool curriculum, and whenever I was doing research in the curriculums, being that we obviously are homeschooling, we are using the Seton Catholic homeschool curriculum. It is not Common Core aligned. The Education Freedom Coalition, and you can go on their website, Tina Hollenbeck, she has done extensive research into all the different homeschool curriculums, no matter what their religious affiliation is, all of them. And she has written them or called them and demanded a written or a verbal response to the question, are you aligned with Common Core? She's got like 17 pages of independent homeschool curriculums that are not aligning and have no reason to align, whereas she also has got like only 6 pages of the curriculums that are aligning. There are some companies out there that do have, that are aligning only for their curriculums that are in the schools. I forget one off the top of my head. Saxon Math. Saxon has a curriculum that they do sell to the school system, and they have aligned that part of it. But when it comes to the SATs, and when he was saying that the questions are being rewritten by David Coleman, who's president of the College Boards. And what I mean by rewritten, it's no more of a knowledge-based question. It's more of a reasoning question of, Betty Peters said it great, at what point do you break a window? Well, number one, either you don't because you believe in personal privacy rights, or you just break it because you feel like it. It's those type of questions that are going to start becoming prevalent on the SATs, and that your child's going to have to, they're going to basically be judging how your child thinks rather than what they know. So, but there are colleges in the states that do not look at SAT scores, and you don't have to have the SATs. So just be aware of that.
Yeah, and I want to say again, Anita Hogue, H-O-G-E. If you Google her name, and she wrote a 2-part article, and she addresses the types of questions that can determine the way that somebody's most likely to, think or act based on the questions. And she even gives a great example that I'm not going to illustrate here because I don't want to get, too much, I don't want to get into the detail, but if you Google her name and you Google Common Core, you'll find that, and she illustrates it beautifully.
Two quick things, if the panel may react. As I was listening to this today, as we confront the collectivist form, or the progressive form of collectivism, two quotes came to mind. One was Lenin once said that if you give me a child for 8 years, they will be a Bolshevik forever. And speaking in Venezuela under Hugo Chavez about 6 years ago, Bill Ayers said that education is the motor force of revolution. And my sense is that the progressives, through our children, are seeking to pursue their fundamental transformation of the United States of America. And one thing with Ms. Alvarez, the comment of, the quote from Arnie Duncan related to assessments and these standards. The thought came to mind that, in effect, what he was saying implicitly was, if you like your current curriculum, you can keep it.
I want to add that the Pew Center did a study of the millennials, right? The kids are in college. What is the millennial? Less than, 24 or whatever. The younger people. And who've been exposed at the university by a lot of socialists or Marxist professors, or even left-wingers in secondary schools in social studies. And they asked the millennials, how do you react to the word capitalism? And they hate it. It's bad. How do you react to the word socialism? That's a good word. Right, so they already are working, well, and that's on my grandson, generation. So, so that we're right. The communist first takes the kids, the schools, and when we're all gone from this room, like she said, I'll be one of the first to go probably. Anyway, when we're all gone, the millennials that follow us think it's okay. I mean, we have on our website, bwcentral.org, something that Khrushchev said. In 1958, to the Secretary of Agriculture of Eisenhower, Benson, he said, Khrushchev said this, we're going to give you Americans small doses of communism, slowly, and you won't realize this, and someday you'll wake up and you live on the communism, and you won't even know it. And that's what's happening for me.
I like to say I came from Melbourne, Florida, which is 2.5 hours south of here, and I met a few people an hour and a half north of here. I'm glad to see so many people, and I'm networking because there are so many knowledgeable people about what's going on. In respect to homeschooling, and we have seen it, we've mentioned about how the Catholic schools and these private schools are coming under the Common Core. It's only a matter of time before our children will not be allowed to be homeschooled. And if they are homeschooled, you will have to follow the curriculum. I know from my own experiences, there is a tendency to, unfortunately, for many people to believe that homeschooling is radical, and they have a kind of a reputation. Oh, those kids or those families are on the weird, right? Weird or on the outside, and that I think is going to get perpetuated even more. So now there's going to be again a philosophy that if you want your kids to succeed, they better go to public schools and be taught this way. I also want to say, I know we need to go to Tallahassee, but I tell people you also have to act locally. Go to your local school board, start talking. They give you, I know in Brevard County, they give us 3 minutes, which is not enough. But I have come and I've seen people do this, and I think it's the most brilliant idea. Get 4 or 5 of your friends, have a script written, so when you speak for your 3 minutes, then they continue. Exactly. The school board has a lot more power well, it has power right now, but again, if you don't exercise that power, somebody else is going to take it, and that's what we're seeing from the state and federal, how they're doing it right now. So, if our school board was strong, and I tell people, I don't know how it is in other districts, but we have top 5 in our school district. If you get 3 of those school board members, you have a majority to start making changes. So find out who's running in your district, and if you don't like either one of them or whoever, then you run. Get yourself out there, get somebody that you can trust to do what's right for our children, because that's where it can change. And I tell people, they have a lot more power, because look at what they're doing. I don't know how it is here, but I know in Brevard County, and I know there's in Orlando the same thing, they've already broke the constitutional law of class size, okay? That was voted by the people. Now, if they can break that law, why can't they break the law of Common Core? You know, what's the difference? Well, the difference is we have lobbyists and big money behind it. People have the power if they come together. We have so much power, but we, again, squander it because we allow the lobbyists the money to make the rules. So, what else was I going to say? And I'm sorry that I'm taking so long, but I was a teacher. I got out of the Air Force. I was 9 years stationed here at Patrick. Not here, actually, 3 hours south. But when I went back to teach, I saw the difference from when I graduated high school. And I said, wow, what a difference. And what's incredibly my story is that I was released from being a teacher. Even though all of my parents petitioned to keep me at that school employed. My FCAT scores, you know how they say, oh, we want teacher accountability, we want this? Baloney. They don't want accountability. They don't want good teachers in there. What they want are yes men. Once I exposed the wrongdoings of my principal, it didn't matter how good of a teacher I was. My FCAT scores, ladies and gentlemen, my first and only year teaching here in Florida, were in the top 1% of the whole state. Okay, so if we're talking about, you know, oh, we use the test scores to grade our teachers, well, how can you say that I can't teach anymore? And the only reason I do not teach, or, well, actually, there's plenty of reasons, and that was because I exposed, but I was actually given a reprimand because I was creating my own teacher materials because of the textbooks that we had in math and reading. Like, you know, talking about the lattice, it's incredible how we teach our children. So what I was doing when I saw something that, the concept that I needed to teach, and I saw that the textbook was terrible in doing this, I created my own materials. I had a reprimand from my district saying you cannot use teacher created. You use the textbooks. So again, it's again a testament on how a teacher with their own materials can blow away, take these kids and be in the top 1% only because I used my own creative materials, and they don't like that. I don't think I think what it showed was we don't need to be spending billions of dollars on textbooks. What we need are good teachers in the classroom. You can go like back in the day when you were taught. Some of you were taught in one-room schoolhouses. You know, if you lived in the rural areas of Oklahoma or Iowa and stuff. That's all we need. We need good teachers, people we can trust to do what is right, teach our children well. All of the accountability, all of these administrators to the administrators to the administrators, all they do is take your tax dollar away from that teacher and that money. And when they talk about how we are, for example, the textbooks being expensive and now, baloney. In Brevard County, we've just spent, or they're going to spend $8 million on a no-bid contract. They didn't even put this out to bid on a computer program that nobody can explain what this computer program is. So, anyway, like I said, my point here is get involved locally. Get the right people in the school board, start there, and move your way up to Tallahassee and to the federal government. Thank you.
First of all, I would encourage you to run. You have a platform. You have a platform, and I would encourage you. I would encourage you to run.
Believe it or not, this is actually going to be my 4th time running in Brevard County. I tell people, you know, it's not all futile. I do have, every time I run, I gain votes because people get to know who I am. The unfortunate thing is I get outspent 3-to-1. For a school board, to win in Brevard County, you have to spend about $20,000, which is ridiculous. You know, I've always spent, and I'm terrible at asking people for money because I don't want to owe anybody anything. And so politics, it's about how much you can spend because unfortunately people are sheep and they will listen to other people that they have no relationship with, but as long as they keep hearing it over and over and over again, they start to believe it. So I am running. If anybody wants to just, if you know anybody in Brevard County, continue to pass the message. Thank you.
Well, also, I would like for you to think about getting involved in the Republican Party. And I know that might be a dirty word at some point for some people, but the Democratic Party is too far gone. We'll never be able to make any headway in the Democratic Party. But if we start getting involved in the Republican Party, there's still a chance that we can do. And once you bring people into your local REC, and maybe they can help.
Let's get to questions only.
Well, that's very
people want to ask questions.
Well, another thing was I wish that y'all had a segment on following the money. You know, there's bound to be people that's profiting.
Just George Bush.
But anyway, that was just something in the future.
Bill Gates.
There was a little bit mention about some money. If one of you want to maybe address some of the.
Well, yeah, basically the Bill Melinda Gates Foundation is behind this. If you get my PowerPoint, you'll also see a bunch of other corporations that are basically throwing money at this, and there are multiple reasons why they're throwing the money. Number one, these corporations admit that one of the most expensive costs of operation are training their workforce, and they are trying to transform the educational system in America rather than what we have or have had, a classical form of education where individualism, exceptionalism are encouraged, one where children are taught how to think and basically are trained while they're in schools such that it would be a school-to-work program, which is what they had in the USSR, what they have in China, what they have in Cuba. They're going to track children in 8th, 9th grade, and they're going to say, okay, now you are going to be a factory worker, you're going to be a doctor, you're going to be an engineer. If we have a shortage in one field, they're going to try to fill that in. And of course, people such as myself are definitely not going to be allowed to go to law school. You get the drift. So that's basically what they're doing in funding all this Common Core state standards. And of course, also, they're hopeful to get a return on that because, at least in the case of Bill Gates, they're planning on, as Frank alluded to, hooking up a child to a computer. And where are the computers coming from? Microsoft, so on and so forth. So this is, you know, the money issue is clear. And then you've got the politicians who are going to get kickbacks, and Jeb Bush, for one, he wants to run for president. And how do you fund? Talking about, we can connect lots of dots here. How do you fund a campaign? Well, you need donors. All of these corporations are being hired thanks to Jeb Bush and the Common Core initiative. And so when it's time for him to get favors done, who's going to fund his campaign? All of these corporations. And all of these politicians have been, of course, persuaded by Jeb Bush that this is the way to go. And unfortunately, like the people, the politicians have also become sheeple. And that's basically the whole money issue.
Question here. You got a question here?
Hi there. I'm Kathy Livermore. I'm from Pasco County, and I've been involved since outcome-based. Started actually with Hillary Clinton. And our kids were in during outcome-based, and we were able to get them out. This is very, very familiar. I could talk to you for a million years. I'm a tutor. I see what is going on because my students come, they're way further behind than just 2 years. I've met high school students who subtract upside down. Okay? That's like 9 years behind, all right? We're not 2 years behind, no. I'm going to try to just simply suggest things that I personally would like to work on besides just, we don't want this, what do we want? I would like to work on changing the voucher law to allow participating private schools choice in assessments. I think one of the reasons that a lot of the Catholic schools are doing Common Core is because they accepted the vouchers. And if you accept the vouchers, you must do Common Core and the assessments. I would like to start writing my own standards. I don't think it's going to be that hard. The core knowledge books are fantastic. I would so sue Common Core for using that same word. There are a lot of really, really excellent standards out there. Why don't we present them to our legislature and say, this is what we want? Give them something else to do besides just kick something out, have them adopt something. There's a lot of fraud in the assessments. It's not just weirdo questions. I would like to see percentages come back. I don't want to hear that a score is 530 and Japan got 570. I want to know what percentage of the questions were correct and what were those questions. Let me see. Oh, if we kick out Common Core, which I know we probably won't, with outcome-based, what they did was a lot of it came in under the guise of education research. We are saying over and over, this is untested. They can turn around and say, okay, we'll test it. And that means that thousands and thousands of children are being research subjects. I think that that should be outlawed. And if it comes in with education research, parents must have an opt-out opportunity at that point. And if they think it sounds like a wonderful idea, and you know how they sell this stuff, they should have an opportunity to change their minds if it is not working for their child. Okay, the last one. Since the tests are all changing, what are the good ones? Are there any legitimate assessments out there that we could say, these are the tests that we want? That's it.
Any ideas, any feedback about assessments from the panel?
On the testing issue, as homeschoolers here in Florida, you do have to either have your child do a portfolio review or they can be tested. And we can use any state test that we choose. I've done the California Achievement Test a couple of times with some of my children, and that one is a very knowledge-based test. Now, I'm not sure, and I don't know if that test is going to be changing due to California's involvement with Common Core. So do know that there's really not going to be much of a good choice, being that most of them are changing and being written by David Coleman. So there you go.
And Linda Darling Hammond.
And Linda Darling Hammond, absolutely.
So Debbie, how does NAEP fit into that? Is NAEP an option?
I don't know. I don't know yet.
That is the global assessment for comparison between countries that shows us at 17 or lower.
International assessment.
Yeah.
Question. Yeah, real quick. First of all, thanks to the panel, wonderful panel, all you guys. I was struck by, which I read before, about Ms. Alvarez mentioning which I think is known arrogant, but stereotyping, racist, the way they put, you know, the Asians in here, and then you have the whites, and then you have the Hispanics, and you have the blacks. They have a different standard according to your race. And I wonder if you were trying to do that in sports, where you flip it around. You have a basketball team and tell the black basketball players, when you play a white game, you have to beat it by 10 points. If it's Hispanic, you have to beat it by 15 points. And the Asian, you got to beat it by 20 points. And see if the kids are going to go, oh, sure, that's fair. I have no problem with that. But they think of our kids like cattle. I mean, the arrogance. There's no individualism. And I just thought that was interesting.
Well, but it's also a way to, and I don't really want to say something that I have no, I don't have any research for this, but I do know for a fact that a lot of the charter schools are owned by China and Chinese corporations. And I have an issue with charter schools, and I'm not going to get into it. But again, going back to the fact that they're expecting the Asian students to perform at a higher level, I would have thought maybe, given the history of this country, that maybe the whites would have been the ones who would have been expected to perform at the highest level, but not Asians. I mean, why have they decided to expect more out of Asians? Who wrote these standards and who, yeah, and then when I read the thing about the charter schools being bought up and established by all these Chinese companies, and then, you know, you hear people here and there, and again, this is just stuff that you hear about how China's going to become the world power, and so you try to find a link to this, and then of course, consistent with our history, unfortunately, you see that the black child is being pegged all the way at the bottom. And most interesting, you know, we have a black in the White House, and yet this is happening while he's in the White House, and he's behind this.